What's going on, guys? Gilly Writes Comics here. It has been a while. I just want to let you guys know that I'm doing well. I'm joined here with Ron Christian. What's going on, Ron?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm finally on video.
We used to do, and we're going to pick up on a channel that we have called GEEKTASTIC DUO. So I got him on. We're going to do something about superheroes, our mainstream superheroes dead, and we're going to talk about a comic that Ron wanted me to pick up. I was able to read the first two issues on his referral, and we're just going to give our thoughts on what we think about the comic and superhero, mainstream superheroes in general, and if there's life. But before I do that, I want to thank every one of my backers who backed Galactic Rodents of Mayhem. I want you guys to know that your 110-page Volume 1 is in the works. We're about 85% complete, okay? This wouldn't be happening without you. The fact that Scout is distributing Galactic Rodents of Mayhem wouldn't have happened without you. They approached us while our campaign was funding. They liked what we had, and we were able to get a distribution thing with Scout. So I want you guys to know that, not forgetting you guys at all, this wouldn't be possible without your support. So I want you guys to know, although you see this here, this awesome issue number 1, which will definitely be coming to Scout Comics, via Scout Comics, will be hitting comic book shops April 28th. A little look at Galactic Rodents of Mayhem here, right? I want you guys to know. Yeah, no spoilers. What I want you guys to know is that this first issue is literally 22% of the book. So I don't want you guys to get all bent out of shape. You know, what's going on? Why is Scout getting Galactic Rodents of Mayhem first? I backed it, when it came out a year and a half ago. COVID hit, right? That derailed a lot of our production because Sebastian Navas, our amazing artist and the co-creator to Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, he went through a very difficult, hard time. He had lost 2 close people to him in his life, and his wife had lost her job, and then he lost his baby daughter that passed away at birth, unfortunately, which is so tragic. It just kills me. So we've been through a lot. But Grom is back on track. So I just want you guys to know that we appreciate your support. We're getting into comic book shops, and we're going to get you your 110-page Volume 1. Okay, Ron? Because I know you backed it. I know you worried about it. Your 110-page Volume 1 is coming out, okay?
Yeah. I trust you, bro.
All right. So on that note, tell us about the comic that you wanted me to read, that you said, hey, go check it out. And I'm not really crazy about new superhero stories, but I went on your, recommendation, and I picked up the first 2 issues and read them.
Well,
so
I was actually recommended. It was recommended to me on Twitter. People were tweeting about it, Radiant Black this, Radiant Black that. So I had known about it, and on that day, I took my nephew to the comic book shop, and while I was there, I was like, I wonder if Radiant Black is here. And I went, and when I saw the first issue, and I picked it up, and I took it home, and I read it that night, and oh my gosh, I really connected to it. The thing that I connected to the most was the fact that the main
Before you tell us what you connected with, show us the first issue. That's what caught you to pick up the book, right?
Yeah, this is the first issue right here, and I picked it up.
Okay.
And then I have the second issue there, but
So the second issue actually looks more appealing to me than the first issue, just on cover.
By the cover,
yeah.
Well, they have a bunch of
variant comics always have a ton of variants. Yeah.
So I just this is the cover that they had, so I got it. I'm not big on picking up a bunch of variant covers or anything.
Okay, no, for sure. Okay, so you picked up Radiant Black number 1. Tell me what you thought, and then I'll tell you what my thoughts are.
I liked it. I thought it was really well written, and I thought the main character, especially to me, was very relatable. As a struggling writer, as a struggling creator, who wasn't able to make it on his own, with what he wants to do, and he had to move back home. And at the end of the issue, there's this really great monologue that he tells his best friend about. He thinks he's a failure and everything, and I really connected to that, and that's what made me pick up the second issue, was that monologue at the end with the character. Also, the concept is cool, the costume looks awesome,
I'm pulling up an image right here of Radiant Black. So now here, this is a better cover. Now if I saw this
Yeah,
is
I
a
mean,
nice cover.
I like that cover
This
better
is a
too.
cool, yeah, yeah.
But it
All right,
wasn't.
so
It wasn't at the store when I went to pick it up. So I'm like,
no, 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 right, right. Okay, so tell me, so you connected with him because he's a failing writer, right?
yeah.
That why you connected, and then you bought issue number 2 only because he was a failing writer.
Well, and I wanted to see where the story was going, and they teased this, guy at the end of issue 1 that like has a red version of his costume, so like someone else got his power. So they teased it at the end of issue 1. I'm like, I want to know what happens in issue 2. What does he meet up with this guy? What happened? So that's why I picked up issue 2.
So I'm gonna give you this, and I'm gonna say this. I read the first 2 issues, and I did not feel the way you felt about this comic. I'm just being straight up, okay?
Okay.
I will say that the creator of this, or the person who's writing this, is Kyle Higgins, and I love his work. I love what he did with Power Rangers. I thought for me that was, I couldn't imagine how awesome you could have made Power Rangers from how the cheesy the show was. And how it back and forth from the Japanese action, the big monsters, and then you go to the Saved by the Bell kind of, drama and comedy with the cast, right? And juggling that and then trying to make it into a serious comic book. Kyle Higgins, hands down, did better than I don't think anyone could have done better than that. So I'm giving him that. He's an amazing writer. Now, when you told me this and you told me he wrote it. And if we look at the premise to it, if you like Power Rangers and you like Invincible, like you're gonna love Radiant Black. The reason why I bring that up is because you're using 2 really iconic franchises to an extent. Power Rangers, of course.
But, well, it's funny that you should mention Invincible because you know how I feel about Invincible. I mean, everybody knows how I feel about
here's the thing.
So let me explain to you what happened.
Explain why you hate about explain why you hate Invincible for people who don't know what.
When I saw like the promos of this comic and when they said if you love Invincible, that gave me pause. Mm-hmm. Like, well, if it's like Invincible, I'm not gonna like it, right? But sure enough, it's a T-rated book, so it's got none of that ultra gore violence in it.
Yeah, but they're not a rating that say it's T.
I did look it up before.
Oh, you did? Is there okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you look up?
I forgot where it was, but I think I went.
There's a thing where they give.
I think I went on
the book is.
I think I went on the Image website or like on the Twitter page of the comic book. It said T, rated T for teen or something.
Interesting.
Like that.
Okay, I didn't even know comic books.
So that was like, okay, well, if it's not gonna be like
gore in that like
Yeah.
I got you. Like it, not like The Boys in terms of violence,
exactly.
And Invincible is very, very violent. Okay, so you saw it was T-rated, and then you jumped in, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The reason why I bring up the fact that he mentions Invincible and he mentions Power Rangers, again, I read Invincible. I read the first 50 issues or that big first thick omnibus, and I enjoyed it.
Like years ago, I read the first volume of that.
Yeah. So I read beyond that first volume. I think it's issue 50 something, and I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it. They're not throwing anything new at you, but it's an interesting take because the way they have the main. I don't want to throw spoilers out there, but you think this is like the main good guy, and there's a twist to him. And what I like about Invincible is like you have the superhero dad, and then like how his powers pass on to the son. The superhero dad is kind of like a Superman parallel. And he settled down with an Earth woman, and he has a son, and then Invincible's going to get his powers when he's like turns a certain age, and that's what's cool about it. And I love that aspect, and I think that's why Invincible took off because that was a fresh dynamic as far as superheroes concerned. I bring all this up again because when I got into Radiant Black, this is what I saw. I'm like, okay, great. Ron recommended this. I did like Invincible. I love Power Rangers. Boom, let's go. And for me, it just didn't do anything for me.
It didn't connect with you?
It didn't connect with me. Now, here's the thing. The main hero, he's a struggling writer. And how many characters that are struggling writers we can relate to because we're all, if you create comics, you're a struggling writer, you get it. So I couldn't relate to him I could relate to that part. But if you guys read the first issue, there are going to be spoilers here. it's like he's all mushy and sad. His life could, like his book didn't take off. All like, okay, great, I get it. He's living back at home. He doesn't want to tell his dad that his book's a failure. He couldn't make it as a writer. He's able to schmooze off his parents. In a superhero story, I need more than that. That's just me. Again, I'm going by the first issue. Okay, if it's pulling me or not, it didn't pull me. So he comes back home. And one of his buddies is like, "Oh, you're back in town. Let's go to the bar. Let's go have fun." And in all this, when they leave the bar, there's like this little orb, this black orb thing. It looks like a little like mini black hole kind of thing, which is a cool concept. And like, "Oh, they're drunk. Oh, should we touch it? Should we not? Whatever." And the writer who can't write touches this black hole and turns into like this awesome picture you see before you. So that was interesting. I'll give you that was interesting, but for superheroes, right? The most interesting me for superheroes is how you get your powers, right? There's something there. With Invincible, he inherited the powers, so that was kind of new. But with superheroes, you see like the Hulk, right? Gamma radiation, right? Spider-Man gets bitten by a radioactive spider. It's like he's on this museum. It's like a nice little build-up. This dude's literally walking out of a bar and stumbles on this mini black hole. And he gets his powers. That wasn't like so mind blowing for me. And then his display of powers comes at the behest of the best friend, who cops kind of. There's like a scene where cops kind of wondering what's going on with the guys, and the best friend isn't he kind of threatening to jump in front of a train or something. The best friend is kind of like being like a true douchebag. Which causes the main hero to kind of like get in this outfit and kind of move the train with his mind. Interesting stuff, but within that first issue, for me anyway, when you're talking about Invincible, you're talking about Power Rangers, in that first issue, I need to be, you hyping it up. So I gotta feel that. And I didn't feel it, and that was why, at least for the first issue, it didn't do nothing for me. I wouldn't have kept on reading this book, but Ron got the first 2 issues, so I said, okay, we'll read the first 2 issues and we'll talk about it. But that's me, Ron. I'm sorry. It didn't connect with me like that as far as a superhero story. It just didn't. Yeah. Issue 2, was there any hope for you in there? What did you enjoy issue number 2?
Well, I mean, the thing is, the conversation he had with his dad in that issue, I had a conversation with that with my dad. So
in issue number 2?
Yeah. His dad is giving him a hard time about, writing his stuff. And they have an argument about that. I've had arguments like that with my dad about what I wanted to do. So again, it's just a relatable thing to the character.
I could relate to that as well, because my dad is the type of, you trying to make it as a writer, why don't you roll up your sleeves and do some hard work? Like that, my dad is of the same ilk as that dad, but for me, it wasn't enough to connect. He built it up. When you say the Invincible and you say Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, that first and second issue, I need it. I need something.
Well, I never read Power Rangers, so I don't know, Right.
Even if you haven't read the Kyle Higgins comic books, at least you kind of know of Power Rangers, right? To understand,
Well, yeah, but I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I thought the original show was kind of cheap. I know a lot of people love it. A lot of people love Power Rangers.
It's a nostalgia thing, so that's why we love it. But I mean, we know it's cheesy, can't be trash in a way.
Back when it was on, I never really watched Power Rangers. I was more into them in the anime series and stuff like that,
which is an amazing series.
So I've never been a big Power Rangers fan, so I guess maybe my perspective is a little different than yours.
So here's the thing. That was one thing that got me, and the Invincible. Okay, great. But now if I bring it into a superhero construct, it's just the relationship with the dad. Okay, it's just he's at home. He didn't make it as a writer. Okay, great. I mean, okay. And he's gifted this really cool power.
I will give you that the fact that the superhero aspect of it hasn't really taken off in these first 2 issues.
So well, that's what I'm saying. So we couldn't connect on how he's building up his comic, saying it's like Power Rangers Invincible.
Yeah. No, I
like those books. I'm bringing it down as from what I enjoy in superhero stories is their relationships, right? To the people close to them.
There's a little action in the second issue that he fights with the red guy. And some, I like what happened with the car. That was really cool. I kind of wanted something more. I get it. I still enjoy the comic, but I get what you're saying. I kind of wanted maybe some giant space monster attacks, and he has to fight that.
So,
You know,
so that when I get to the whole superhero thing, and I get when you're comparing it to this and that, I'm giving you two issues. You know, I need so I'm just saying I need a little something in the first in Invincible in the first issue. I got what I needed. Like it made, I was good. I was good. I read over 50 issues of that. It got me. This comic, it's as much as I love Kyle Higgins, I don't see myself going past issue number 2. I just don't.
Right.
Maybe when you have the collected trade and it's like out of this world, then maybe I can. Okay, let me see now what what's going on. Maybe you can get me back. But as far as this first 2 issues, for me, it's kind of slow. And as you said, the superhero side of things are not hitting me. They're not captivating me.
I'll admit it's a little.
There's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The relationships, the mom and dad, I get that. I mean, with Spider-Man, I like the Mary Jane aspect. His Uncle Ben died. I mean, I get it. Spider-Man's so different because, again, we know it already, and I don't know how it was built up back in those days. But, again, we know all this going into a new superhero comic. So, with that being said, you got to grab us by the jugular. You got to grab us and not let go. Comic books are an entertainment medium, and you're dealing with movies, you're dealing with video games. There's so many things that rival comic books as far as entertainment that the good thing that comic books has is its imagery. It's imagery, so you got to grab us.
In a more healthy mainstream comic book industry, I probably wouldn't have looked at this at all, honestly. But the fact that DC and Marvel are like just pissing me off so much, that's why this got on my radar.
Right. So look, what does that tell you? That's like not even good. And you just say you just say, hey, listen, if the mainstream comics was amplified to where I'm like excited and stoked, this thing is not giving me anything. You're kind of pushing yourself, you're trudging through it, even though it is interesting a little bit. You can connect a little bit with the character.
I'm enjoying it, but I don't know. If circumstances were different, I probably would have missed it.
Because of the state of superhero comics, I agree with you. We need some stuff. We need some, we need some.
I'm doing some.
But yeah, you're doing it with your Paragon Prime, and now let this first issue be an example how you need to get right to it. I'm not crazy about this character. I'm not super duper connected, even though I understand the failing aspect with the writer. I could totally relate. I mean, it took me how long to finally get a book into comic book shops? I started this comic thing about 6-7 years ago, and just now I'm getting Galactic Rodents of Mayhem in the comic book shops. It took a while, right? But I could relate to that. I look at it from a superhero standpoint, and it's just boring. The most cool thing is how you get your powers. It's literally this mini black hole. We don't see the origin. We might know that later on, but I mean, as of right now, it's just there, and it just grabs into it, and he turns into this cool thing. We don't get no flashback. We don't get him going through a quick warping through other dimensions. It's like, okay, I look like this, and then I could make this cool mask cover my head. I can breathe. I can throw up through it. Okay, cool, but it's just not getting me. And especially from a superhero, I love superheroes, but it's just not getting me.
You're not wrong. You're actually not wrong.
So that's my only complaint. Keep on reading it, Ron, and if you really think, at least for me, if it's worth jumping back into, I'll give it a shot on your referral, and because I know Kyle Higgins could write a great book. And for the most part, the pacing through the comic is decent. It's just for me, like what I'm just saying, we've been there. I need something more, especially if you're calling it Power Rangers and Invincible. You need to show that in the first issue some way, somehow.
But by the way, whenever I'm describing Paragon Prime, I make sure not to compare it to any other books. I don't want to do that. I don't say it's this and this, or it's this and this.
Well, I'm with you on that. I unfortunately had the balls enough to say this is like TMNT and Star Wars. It's not. It's going to be reminiscent. If you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you like Star Wars, that type of nostalgia that you enjoy, that type of adventure that you enjoy, you'll feel right at home with Galactic Rodents of Mayhem, because that's what my inspiration is. That's my love letter to that,
the consensus is that Gilbert didn't really dig Radiant Black. I still liked it, and I'm going to be picking up issue 3. But
I will be picking up issue 3, 4, 5. I'll donate my first 2 issues to the library. Maybe just leave them. I work in a school. Maybe I'll just leave them like on a table and just walk away. Someone will grab them and read them, and maybe they'll follow it. Kyle Higgins, I love you. You do amazing work. I'm just not feeling Radiant Black, and it's a great thing when we create stories. We could just pick and choose what we like. So guys, as far as our mainstream superheroes are dead, I'm not saying they're dead, but we need something. We need something. Radiant Black ain't it for me. Maybe it'll be something else. Anyway, guys, this is Gilly Writes Comics. I'm here with Ron Christian. We will have our own channel, Geektastic Duo, where we talk about whatever. Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, now Ron got his camera. Yeah. I got my camera. We're gonna be showing our faces, showing our reactions on the spot, and we'll just talk about geeky stuff because that's why we're the Geektastic Duo, right? Yep. So I'll put a link in the description in case you guys want to subscribe or like or share it around. Anyway, guys, till the next one, peace.
Geek out.
Geek out.